Hey there, how are you? Happy Wednesday. I am just back from Denmark and I'm happy to be connecting with you live today on a Wednesday. What's up? I am responding to many people who have asked me about this healing thing that I do. And I admit, I used to think it was really weird. I used to not tell people that I could do distance healing because I thought it was, I don't know, maybe like it was weird or people would think I was, I don't know. Anyway, you know how it goes. We all fear all sorts of things about owning who we really are. I'm just going to share this onto my timeline. So, hello Camilla, hello Lena. Camilla, it was so good to see you in Denmark. Salut Romeo, and hello Ingrid. It was wonderful to be in Denmark. It was wonderful to share some energy on the stage for Women's Entrepreneurship Day. I came back really inspired. I think because it's one of those times when I get to, you know, of course, giving a keynote, I'm on stage and all that, but I got to connect with people that I have met only on Facebook. So it was really good to actually be able to hug some of you that I've only seen your little face on this little Facebook thing. And I got to see some of my dear friends and colleagues, like the beautiful Halina Goldstein, who is the founder of the Joy Keepers Network, which I'll be talking about today. And she gave me this beautiful gift. I got a birthday gift of some crystal. Isn't that lovely? So I was so grateful. And Ea, who's also in Denmark, Ea Osumst, she gave me an angel, which is out there on display. So I'll have to show you that another time. But I want to talk to you about distance healing. And the reason I'm finally willing to kind of come out of hiding, okay, I really wasn't hiding, but just not, it's not something I talk about. You won't see it on my website. But somebody asked me when I was talking about doing Qigong, so the type of distance healing, if you will, or the training that I've received is in a type of Qigong that was created by this guy named Peng Ming in China. He's both a Chinese medical doctor and he's also been trained in Western or allopathic medicine as a medical doctor, an MD. And learning from what these Chinese masters have done with directing life force energy, which we call Qi. You know, in India, they would call it prana. The Japanese call it ki. It's this life force energy that is said to run throughout our bodies. It runs in the heavens. It's the life force that makes everything full of vitality. And sometimes if that energy gets blocked, we start to experience dis-ease or, you know, literal illness. So what's up, Trevor? Good to see you, my friend. So I wanted to, you know, I talk about, what's up, Trevor? See, I'm drinking my midday cup of tea. One of the things that attracted me to this type of Qigong was how fast it works. I've shared with some of you have seen my Attunement Process, the meditation course that I have. And I first got introduced to this type of healing energy work from Greg Braden. And Greg Braden is, you know, multiple best-selling author. His latest book is, it's just left my mind, something about the human evolution. But anyway, so I was talking to Greg about the various types of healing practices that he studied. You know, over the last 20 plus years, he had been traveling to all these various countries, doing presentations, learning about ancient healing modalities, including prayer. And one of the videos that he showed us was of some people in China. And it's on my website. If you look up Qigong and go to andreapennington.com, you'll see there's this video where a woman using an ultrasound wand is scanning the abdomen of this woman. And you see on the screen like a 3-centimeter tumor in the woman's bladder. And they freeze the screen so that you can see how big it was. And then in real time, they continue to scan the woman's tummy while 3 of these experienced Qigong practitioners start to do their magic. And I say magic because literally in less than 3 minutes, this tumor shrunk and disappeared. And as a physician, I don't like having to see patients over and over and over again. I know that sounds just wrong, but when I was in my medical practice, I want people to like come in, tell me what's wrong, or sometimes I can see what's wrong with my own kind of weird visionary expertise. And I want to just help them get their energy flowing again, create a vision for where they want to go in life, and then get on with it. And so learning about this technique was like, yeah, I want some of that, especially when you see some of these Qigong masters. And of course, any of you who've ever looked at martial arts and Kung Fu and all of that, you see that someone who's really trained in these Eastern therapies and martial arts, just by a gentle touch of their hand, they could knock someone down. So, breaking blocks and bricks and, knocking people over. But what I am surprised by is how easy it is for someone to learn these techniques, because most of my, teachers and masters have been doing this for decades, literally for hours and hours and hours a day. But I wanted to be able to explain to you how you could also tap into this universal life force energy to direct it around. Now, a lot of people that I've talked to who studied Reiki, they say it's very similar. My background doing acupuncture and Chinese medicine really tuned me into how quickly energy could move and cause a shift in people's mind, body, and spirit. So if you happen to know someone who's suffering, or you yourself are in need of some healing, get ready to receive. Earlier this year, I was talking with my friend Allison, who was on Facebook Live, and she sent a message saying, whoa, how is it I can feel your energy all the way in the United States? She's in near Boulder, and here I am in the south of France. And we literally can be in multiple places at the same time. Yeah, if you really want to dive into quantum physics and what's possible for us humans, you really will learn that all this concept about time and space, they're just concepts. And some of these mathematical concepts haven't even literally been proven or disproven. But the bottom line is we exist in a matrix of energy. This whole world, this field we live in, is a matrix of energy and information. And if we learn how to direct our attention and intention, we can change the energy and the information in our field, which means you can also change the energy and the information at a distance, because we're all connected. And what I have been teaching for the last, 12 years or so, is a 5-step process called the Attunement Meditation process. And it really started for my clients who were dealing with addiction and eating disorders and stress. And it was just really a way to kind of bring calm to the body and mind so that people could really focus again and live their lives. But little by little, people were telling me that when they got into that peaceful meditative state, they could start to think about their problems more clearly, or their visions and goals more clearly. And as they did that, they were manifesting things faster, or synchronicities were showing up. So recently, just yesterday, I was talking to Romeo Cournal. So Romeo is an intuitive life coach here on the French Riviera. And we were talking about his chapter in the upcoming book, Time to Rise, which I am so excited to tell you about in another video. But Romeo and 28 other authors are each sharing their experiences about how they've gone through certain life transformations. So yesterday, Romeo and I were talking about how he, and hopefully I'll get it right, the way he described it is accessing a future self, like literally feeling what your future self would feel like. And this is precisely what I've been trained to do with the type of Qigong that I do. Okay, so I'm going to just tell you the 5 steps. I'm going to explain it, and then we're going to do it together. So if you happen to have an issue that you want some insight, inspiration, or healing on, you can go ahead and type it in. And if you know someone who's dealing with a health challenge who could use some education on how to heal themselves, or they might want some of this attention directed at them, would you share this video with them and tag them? The other thing that I will mention briefly is, on my birthday, November 9th, the lovely Lynn McTaggart was leading the peace experiment, the Middle East peace experiment, where thousands of us got together at a specific hour. It was 8-something in the evening for us here in France, to direct attention and the intention for peace on these gates in Jerusalem. And the experience that people had while doing this intention experiment was that they had this rebound effect. That's what she calls it in her book, The Power of 8. This rebound effect means as you're praying or visualizing or sending energy, compassion, or love for someone else, as you are really putting your energy and attention on someone else, people were finding that they themselves were receiving healing. So when some people were asking me, Andrea, you've been flying all around the world, you're all over the place, you're a full-time mom, you're like on stages, you're doing the radio, the TV, and clients, how do you do it? Well, doing this type of Qigong, I'm, yes, giving you and my clients a lot of energy when I'm doing stuff, but I'm also channeling that energy in through me and then directing it to you. And the more I give, the more I receive. And so I want you to keep that in mind, because this really is also going to be useful for you. So anyone need anything, let me know. So here are the 5 steps of the attunement process. Now, the first step, we say it's just allow. Many times we try to stuff away our emotions or block out pain. But the first thing that we do is we take 5 deep breaths and really allow yourself to get present. So when I say slow breaths, I want you to breathe in to the count of 6, hold it for 2 seconds, and then exhale as slowly as you can. All right? So deep breath in, hold for 2, now exhale. And as you exhale, I want you to really get present to what you're feeling, even the thoughts that you might be thinking. Deep breath again. Hold for 2. And exhale. So I want you to continue to breathe like that. You're taking these 5 deep breaths and you allow your body to relax. Allow your mind to, whatever it's doing, any little thoughts that are racing, just allow yourself to be present and witness it. If it comes to this aspect of your own healing, then I want you to allow yourself to get really connected to whatever that pain or dis-ease is. And maybe it's not something you feel. So if you've got some kidney thing going on, just allow yourself to bring your energy and attention to your kidneys. So as you breathe in, imagine that you're directing this energy or that breath to that part of your body and really get present to what does that part of the body feel like? Is it tense? Is it aching? Is it throbbing? Is there a color associated with it? Like if you could put a color on that pain or that feeling, what color would it be? So continue to take some deep breaths and just allow yourself to feel what you feel. The second step of the attunement process is about tuning into compassion, or whatever kind-hearted feeling you can imagine. And most of the time I just tell people to recite the 4 phrases of the metta or loving kindness meditation. Most of us call it just the compassion meditation. And that's where you wish to yourself first, even before you do the healing on anyone else, to yourself, you say, may I be free from suffering. And really get in touch with what that would feel like to gently wish yourself that freedom from suffering. And then the second phrase, may I be truly well in body, mind, and heart. May I be peaceful and live with ease. May I be truly happy. For some people, if it's difficult for you to wish yourself these gentle wishes, then you can imagine that there's some loving, compassionate being next to you, or in the heavens, an angel, a passed on relative, Buddha, the Christ, Muhammad, a saint. Imagine this higher being who's also wishing that you are free from suffering, and see what it feels like to receive these compassionate wishes. After you've done that, and I'm going to go a little fast because I'm not going to stay here with you all day, but I want you to just feel what that feels like to really experience those waves of compassion that are being directed toward you. The third phase is to align your mind with the mind of the divine. Some people will say, not my will, thy will be done. Or, let me align my mind with peace. Because this is about getting away from that feeling that you have to have your way, that things have to go one way. When we get these blinders on, where we feel like we're just fixed on one solution. When you get into this space of wanting to be healed, then you almost have to surrender that and say, let my mind be guided by peace, so that you can have that spaciousness and that opening for these divine solutions to come through. Because let's face it, sometimes the stuff that we're going through in life is because we brought it on ourselves, or it could be a matter of karma, some past life drama that's being reenacted, or some leftover stuff from your childhood, or a soul contract. So if you could imagine being willing to say, let me align my mind with the mind of the divine, let my mind be guided by peace, sometimes you will get a message that says, this is where you need to go next, or, this is what's really causing your hardship. So it's about creating that space in the mind so that you're no longer judging, or suppressing or being fixed. It's about really getting into that space of detachment. The fourth is to ask for inspiration, or to act on inspiration. And we literally don't want to take any busy action to solve our problems. It's really about saying, can I wait? Wait for that inspiration, or that gut, or that little voice that we hear that tells us where to go next. And the fifth stage is appreciation, where you literally genuinely create the feeling of gratitude for whatever you can find in your life or in your surroundings. You can even create your own object of something that inspires you to give thanks and appreciation. Now, I can tell you that because of my nerdy background, each of these 5 steps is really based in the neuroscience. So it's not just my practice of meditation that has informed this, but it's understanding that when we go through these processes of taking the 5 deep breaths, of allowing ourselves to get in touch with the feelings, emotions, and thoughts that are present, by tapping into compassion for ourselves before we send out compassion to others, the willingness to allow our mind to be guided by peace or a higher state of consciousness, asking for inspiration, and staying in appreciation. Each of these things has been clinically shown to impact our brain and rewire the brain circuitry. Now we know, as Romeo was telling us yesterday in the interview, that our brain is both a receiving and a broadcasting instrument. So the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions, the energy and the vibe that we emit from our heart, from our brain, from our bodies, that's what's being projected out into the universe. And many times the reason why you have certain people in your life or certain circumstances is because they're a match. They're an energetic or vibrational match. So if we decide to change and shift our attention toward really staying focused in the positive, the work of Barbara Fredrickson, who created what she called the broaden and build theory. The more we focus on and literally create positive emotion, we broaden our repertoire of what's possible. And we create an upward spiral of positivity that impacts us, our bodies, and our relationships. So just bear in mind that there's a method to my madness. Now, as it pertains to the healing part, once you've gone through these 5 steps and really gotten yourself present and tuned in to love and gratitude and compassion and the desire that one not suffer, then we get into the phase of directing that energy to someone who is in need. So I haven't seen anyone typing in. You guys are silent today, I guess, because of the topic, maybe. But one of the... Hey, Morton. Hey, Nomi. I love how my Denmark peeps are in the house. One of the things that is really helpful is this idea that I was talking about, this future vision, which I just did at the Women's Entrepreneurship Day. And the future vision, especially as how we practice it with this type of medical Qigong, is I want you to imagine the person that you're either sending that energy and intention for, or if it's yourself, you imagine yourself or that person well. So if they're going into surgery, you might imagine that all of the nurses and the doctors are treating them well, and they're in good moods, and they had good sleep last night, and they're really attentive, and you see that person going through the surgical process well, and they come out of surgery well. And if you are a multi-modality kind of person, imagine that you hear them calling you up saying, I actually feel really great. Or, if you can visualize them, really thriving. Or if you know that they have a broken bone. So for example, since nobody has typed in, many of you know of my friend, my colleague, and my client, Gega. She is the author of Smiler Can Change It All, which is over there. She recently fell kind of off of, she described it as a cliff. I hope it wasn't like a major, anyway, bottom line is she injured her arm and literally had to go to surgery to have it fused together. The break was so severe. And she's been out of surgery for a couple of days now. But I want us all to imagine dear Gaga, and if you could imagine her arm receiving healing energy, and you can imagine that any way you want. Maybe it's light. When I first started teaching this to my daughter, we used to say it was like pixie dust, like little pink sparkles, as we imagine that chi. You can imagine it as being light or energy or love. Imagine that energy is going to that part of the body and it's healing. If that person had swelling, you might imagine that the swelling is going down. But you essentially are going to imagine the future vision of that person totally well, getting, this amazing recovery. And for people who've had things like fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome, people who've literally been bedridden for a long time, you can also imagine them just imagine this wave of energy revitalizing them, revitalizing and revitalizing them, so that they're able to, I'll stand up and start being more active and that sort of thing. So see if you can get into this idea of what it's like when the person is actually doing well. So I think it's just my phone that won't show me what you guys are typing, because I'm looking at the computer and I see it. So glad that you are actually typing in, because I was missing that before, but that's okay. So imagine then that you are able to tune into this person in the future. And you said, and Camilla asks, can it be the healing of an emotional thing like anxiety? Yes. So if you imagine a person who has anxiety, okay, you don't have to imagine, I'll tell you about my experience. For years, I struggled with anxiety. And the way that happened for me was my mind was racing. I was always having thoughts and fears. I would wake up at night with my mind going in different scenarios popping up in my head. And I started to feel tension in my body. So if you could imagine that as you're sending the intention for this person to be free from the suffering of anxiety, you could imagine their body all of a sudden becoming calm. Imagine their body relaxing. Whatever that symptom of anxiety is, imagine it diminishing or going away. And then once it's gone, what would you do, or what would a person do if they didn't have that symptom anymore? So it's very easy, as I was saying about a person with fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue who's in bed for a long time, or Lyme disease like so many people. They're bedridden for a long time. They just can't get off the couch or whatever. So if you could imagine, wow, I'm going to see them slowly, almost like a little flower. They're gaining that energy and they're able to stand up. Imagine them in that future vision being able to do what they couldn't do before. So yes, if it's depression, if it's anxiety, whatever it is, if it's extreme grief over the loss of someone, if you could imagine that they're, as you're sending that energy, you're imagining that the energy and the intention, the love, the healing chi that you're sending is taking away those symptoms, but it's also infusing them with new light and energy to rise up. So that is the short explanation of what we do. And again, the thing that's been surprising is, for me, I did spend hours and hours a day studying this and practicing the Qigong. And actually the Qigong, there's actual movements that I do. It's almost, people say it looks a little bit like Tai Chi. But many of the people who do distance healing, we literally get into that calm state and then imagine that we're tapping into this universal life force energy and directing it to the people who need it. Sometimes I will imagine that I'm standing right in front of them, and I do exactly what I would do if they were standing with me, where I'm literally generating a little bit of a chi ball or a chi field around us. And if you've never felt chi before, some of us recommend that you just do like this, rub your fingers together. Sorry, ladies, don't ruin your manicure. But rub your fingers together, fingernails, and rub your hands together. And then see if you don't actually feel, it's not just the heat, but you start to get this sense, almost like this cottony, I don't know how to describe it, but to me, it's like this warmth, almost like you were touching hot steam. But if you could imagine that you're able to feel that energy, if someone were with me physically, I would generate that sense of chi, calling in with my breath and with my intention and attention, drawing in that energy, and then directing it toward whatever part of their body. Now, as I said, I spent a lot of time and years doing this, but I was really inspired by reading the work from Lynn McTaggart's book, The Power of Eight, because after she had been learning about the field and then wrote a book and was in this movie about the divine matrix, and then did intention experiments where people around the world were blindly sending energy and intention to things like seeds to see if these little plants would grow differently based on the energy and the intention that they set. And she found indeed that in many cases it was happening, it was working, and she was a skeptic. So then she wrote about the bond, which is about the bond between us. And this book, The Power of Eight, one of the things that Lynn said was, after doing so many of these intention experiments, including the American Peace Experiment and just 2 weeks ago, the Middle East Peace Experiment, as these people weren't trained in long hours of meditation or breathing or qigong, they were just getting together with the intention to be of help and service and healing. Yes, she would lead them through a bit of a breathing exercise, very similar to what I described, but just getting present and then imagining that you could send from your heart the desire for that person to be well. And then people are healing. So if you look at her website, lynnmctaggart.com, you'll see that you can even sign up to be part of this intention experiment. And each week she posts what each intention is. So for example, someone may have written in and said, their child had cancer, can we all create this intention that they will be well? And then Sunday at, I can't remember what time, they send us an email each week saying, this is the intention for the week. And these people are writing back email after email after email over the last several years about how their lives have been improved, their health, their finances, so many things. And so it just inspired me to realize, wow, you don't have to spend all the time and energy that I have, or even some of these meditation masters. And the latest work that Lynn was sharing was The Power of Eight. So her intention experiments, when she does the big ones, there are hundreds of thousands of us doing it. But she also, when she wanted to do it on a smaller scale, she randomly put people in groups of 8. And they were physically in the same room, but now they're doing it virtually, via the internet. People are organizing groups and saying, okay, let's get together. This is our intention. This is the time that we're going to send that energy. And lo and behold, people are having these dramatic effects. But again, the number one thing that was really shocking for her, and that I also experienced, is the rebound. As much as we're sending out this love and this intention and this compassion and these healing wishes for someone else, the rebound effect is that we are also being lifted up and healed and so on. So I want to invite you to experience that for yourself. And if there are people here, I did mention this last week, and some of you mentioned that you were willing to be part of this experiment. So if that's of interest to you, if you would like to get together in groups of 8 where we can send out these intentions for healing, for well-being, yes, it can even be for business type stuff. If you've got a big project coming up or a book you're launching or trying to write, we can get together and send that healing intention and that loving intention that you experience success and you thrive. I would like to do our own version of these little intention experiments, because over the last year and a half, by interacting with this community in the way that I am now, with going to live events and inviting you to live events, we are creating a field of consciousness where we're sharing and tapping into this divine energy. And we have so much more power than we actually give ourselves credit for. And I know I say that a lot, but it's really true. And if we, with that shared intention, come together for the good of all, we can raise the consciousness level on the planet. We can raise the amount of love that people experience on the planet, particularly those of us that have felt very alone as we decide that we're going to go live as our authentic self, or, break free from conformity. And that can be a lonely process. But this community is here to show that it's safe to actually be yourself. We can mirror to one another what we see. We see the divinity in you. We see the God in you, the soul, the perfect soul of you. We see you thriving at your best. I hate to be like, okay, I'm giving away all my secrets, but the beautiful Gita Vinter, the author of the Children's Meditations in My Heart, she gave me a dream catcher. Let me see if I can show it to you. You see that dream catcher? And this was when we were in London a couple of weeks ago. I'm just going to say a couple of weeks because I can't keep track of where I am in the planet. But a couple of weeks ago, I was in London giving a talk about a workshop around, yes, Hazel, you were there, so you know what I'm talking about. So we were in London for the Speak from the Heart workshop about authentic speaker training. And beautiful Gita Vinter, she's amazing. Her work is amazing. She got on stage and she completely rocked it. Oh my gosh. Can't wait for her doing some keynotes, and her TED Talk is going to be amazeballs. But what she gave me standing up is she said, look, Andrea is a dream catcher. She shared a vision with me, and the reason I do so many vision exercises is that's my modality. I see things. I also hear voices, but Anyway, so I see visions. And sometimes if someone is describing what they want, I can start to see potential roads or pathways to them achieving that goal, or I can see the impediments, the things that would block them. Definitely when I was working as a doctor, I could see almost the organic things that were growing in people and that sort of thing. But one of the things that Gita said was, if you share your dream or your vision with Andrea, she's going to help you make it happen, which sometimes does put you in a little bit of a tricky spot because then you got to go out and live it. But as I shared at Women's Entrepreneurship Day and at Expert Empires, for those of you who were in London earlier this year, when I wasn't always comfortable telling people that I saw visions. I wasn't always comfortable with people knowing that I had kind of these psychic things, because in my younger years, being psychic was like you were a weirdo. People were like, ooh, who are you, Miss Cleo? I know, y'all don't even know who that is, right? But it had sort of a negative attachment to it. And so I didn't want to be weird, so I hid a lot of it. And for early parts of my life, I didn't know what to do with it. Sometimes I would see visions of things, or I'd have a dream, these precognition dreams of things happening, but it was so close to the event that I'm like, why am I getting this vision? There's nothing I can do. It's not like I can intervene. So I was like, I don't want it. And I shut off some of that sort of ability. But of course, doing Chinese medicine and meditation totally heightened my sensitivity again to being able to pick up on people's energy, their vibe, what's going on with them. And now I own it, but I wasn't always comfortable with it. Now I recognize it's an incredible gift. There was a period of time where it was kind of a burden. It was really painful sometimes to be so empathic. When you can feel what other people are dealing with. And Cynthia Harrison has just joined. I know she knows all about that, don't you, Cynthia? But when you can actually feel another person's suffering, the challenge I had was sometimes I couldn't tell that it was their suffering. Like I felt it so much that it felt like it was mine. And it wasn't until I got additional training and mentoring that I was able to really, first and foremost, I had to start asking the question, like, is this mine? Or is this somebody else's stuff? Because I could pick up on people. And it's not just that they had to be in my space. When I started picking up on people at a distance, even just casual acquaintances, people that I wasn't super close to, that's when I was like, whoa, wait a minute now. How is it I'm tapping into other people's pain or, challenges. So being willing to like own that has come slowly. But what I shared, getting back to my point about what I shared at Women's Entrepreneurship Day and Expert Empires, was the experience that I had with Bea Benkova. And, if you haven't looked at the Global Institute for Extraordinary Women, you should. But I've told this story a couple of times, that when Bea and I met, she sat down and she gave me this vision of her constellation mentoring program, mentoring women to really own their gifts and abilities and become these rising and then shining stars, taking their place in the constellation. And I totally got it. Like, she was drawing it and it was just like, whew, I got it. And one of the things that Bea has a real gift for is creating a space, a listening, a field, an atmosphere for people to really take a stand for who they are in the world. Who do you want to show up as? Who do you want to really fully become and be? And what's the impact you want to have in the world? Like, if you really had someone, and hopefully maybe you have, maybe you had a parent or a teacher or a coach at some point in your life who was really willing to say, hey, I see you and I'm willing to support you. Tell me what you want. Like, let's just talk it through. And that's the space and the creative environment that Bea has so skillfully created. So to experience that firsthand, I'm a person who likes to challenge myself. I don't like to back down from nothing. Don't go daring me, because I've been dared to eat sand, eat worms before I was vegan. I was a kid. And I would do stuff just to be like, I'm not going to back down. But one of the things that happened, when Bea said, all right, Andrea, so who are you? What is your stand in the world? What do you really stand for? And sometimes I probably wouldn't have told people my biggest, boldest vision or dream or goal, because I would be afraid that they'd think, well, who does she think she is? Or, wow, that's too big, or whatever. But with Bea, I didn't feel the need to censor myself. I felt like I could be honest and truthful and share the real me. And doing that, I owned it at that moment with her. And I owned the fact that, okay, I'm a visionary. I see visions. I help people realize their dreams and their goals in alignment with their soul, their spiritual calling, their purpose. And that's all I want to do. No fluff. And I want to do all the foo-foo la-la, high-end corporate branding that I did, unless it's tied to this deeper spiritual, consciousness-raising, love-enhancing stuff. And the beauty of being able to say that to someone who got it and receives it and is welcoming it was, once you put that out there and you start to imagine you at your best, living and doing the things that bring you that sense of joy and flow and fulfillment, where you're using your talents. And yes, it can still be a stretch goal where maybe you've had to grow to get there. But as soon as you are in community with people who are willing to see you for that version of you, it sets a whole creative process into the stratosphere. And that's what happened for me. It really allowed me to step it up. And so when Bea said her vision, she said, okay, this is what I'm up to now. She had created JIFU, and she said, but I'm ready to step up my brand and my expression in the world. And she said, let's, do this little brand assessment thing that I do. I said, okay. So I took her through the process of what we do with personal branding. And I started getting visions. I had visions of Bea. But she wasn't just working with women in her constellation program that she had just told me about. I was starting to see her working with presidents and heads of state and diplomats and all these. And I thought, at first, I almost didn't want to say anything because once again, I'm thinking she's going to think I'm cuckoo, I'm a weirdo. She never mentioned this stuff. She's going to think I'm out to lunch. But again, because she had created this space of, okay, you can be your authentic self, your most bold self. So I did. And I shared with her what I saw. And it was so amazing. I get chills just thinking about it again, because she was like nodding her head in recognition. And she had tears in her eyes. And she said, I've never told anyone about that. And yet you saw it. And she's like, that's ultimately what I want to do. I want to shift the consciousness of communities and nations. And I said, well, then that's the brand presence you need to put out into the world, and you will step into and grow into that. And, we worked on a few little things. And what I shared Sunday in Copenhagen was a picture of Bea and her beautiful sister, Tinka, with the president of Slovakia. And she has been working with him and moved from England back to Slovakia, her home country, to start changing the consciousness of her home. And it is so amazing when I started to get this information that she's working with community leaders and political figures, and there with the president of Slovakia, her friend, I'm thinking, wow, this is exactly what I saw. And it's shifted everything that she's doing. Like, she has a much more global presence now. And I know some of you were with us for the Global Social Change Summit that she just finished over the weekend. It's nothing short of miraculous. So I'm telling you that story, and some of you have heard it before, but I'm telling you that again to say it's okay to be bold enough to set out a vision of you really at your best, and imagine what it would be like if you were using your talents and your strengths in the most authentic and powerful way, in a way that transforms you and transforms everyone around you. Because that's what we have the power to do. And when we stand witness and in agreement, then we are adding our energy to that becoming a reality. So this has gone beyond just, the physical healing. This is how we can heal nations. And I wouldn't have believed this was possible before if it weren't in meeting some of these people. The same people that I've studied, and I bumped into Greg Braden in Peru this summer. So being in these sacred sites and meeting with the people whose work I've studied for years. I told a couple of weeks ago about my experience last year at Peace Village with Roger Nelson. And I'm like trying to not have a fangirl experience, but his work with remote viewing and the Global Consciousness Project and all of that, to be standing there with someone whose work has so influenced my entire existence on the planet. The thing that it keeps inspiring me to realize is, whoa, collectively, we have some amazing power. And if we decide to come together for the good of all beings, not just the good of us as individuals, but the good of our community, the good of our nations, we can make a difference. And that's what I'm inspired to do. So as I'm in planning mode for the second half of 2018, because the first half has been planned for a while, but I'm really tuning into the impact that I want to have, and how am I going to step it up? How am I going to be more active in your life to help you and challenge you where you need it to step it up? And sometimes you don't need a challenge. Maybe you just need a cheerleader. But that's what I really want to do. So, starting in a couple of weeks' time, when you start to see these videos, these interviews that I'm doing with these truly inspirational change makers who are in this book, Time to Rise, you are going to understand the power that we're sitting on. And the reason I want to show these individuals is that it's not just me doing cool stuff, but there are people all around the world who have been also kind of isolated and by themselves have done amazing things, And now they're ready to take it to that next level and start impacting perhaps a global audience, but definitely beyond what they've been doing. And that's the power we have. So I do pray that you will tap into this energy, take from it what resonates for you, but know that this community is about love, expansion, and elevation. But that's elevating everyone. So when people ask, like, wait, I can't believe you're promoting so-and-so. And yes, baby. Because if all of us are really living at our best, if we can support and nurture and grow together, then all that icky stuff, all this really depressing stuff that we're seeing in the media, just know that that stuff is on its way out. That darkness, those old paradigms of misogyny and control and centralized wealth, that is disappearing. Now, for some of us, it may happen in our lifetime, it may not. But just recognize that we can be part of that solution. So, in the words of Gandhi, we are going to be the change we wish to see in the world. And yes, I know that's backwards, but we're going to pay it forwards. So again, if any of you do have any need for healing, I'm just looking at some of the comments here. If there's any particular stuff you need, access to the chakras in your palms and how you can send energy from your main chakras. Okay, Nomi, I know you had to go, so you'll have to catch the replay and tell me what it is you want. Okay, and Hazel, you've got a dragon and tiger class. Fabulous. So whatever inspires you on this journey to learn about how you can tap into your own energy and whatnot, keep doing it. Are there any questions here before I say adios? Anyone? It's been lovely to see your faces here. I have to give a shout out again to Lynn Newman, who created this beautiful peace rock. Peace on one side and love on the other. When I talk about really tapping into the energy of peace and love, I love art, so I'm grateful for, I'm going to just call her by her real name, Laura, who created this beautiful painting there, and of course Gega, although you can't see with the light shining on Gega's painting up there. I like having the art around me that inspires me. And yesterday I was talking to Karina Virginia, who is a beautiful Kundalini yoga instructor. She and I are leading a workshop in California at 1440 University, 1440 Multiversity. We had just such a beautiful conversation yesterday about what's possible. Sorry, someone's driving up, making the dog bark. And the idea that we can get together and learn these different modalities, from Kundalini yoga, from breathing, from the attunement process, which I've shared with you, tuning into these rocks and talismans and crystals and other things. This beautiful woman here, who wrote the book Love Heals, I just picked it up, just ordered it, and it arrived today. So Kimberly Braun was with us in New York at Peace Village, and it's like, I love learning from these different people, and she was a Carmelite nun, so it's like, wow, imagine being in silence and contemplation for, I think it was a decade, and these are the kinds of insights and stories I want you to tap into, because there's not one way to heal. There's not only one way to salvation. There are multiple ways, and I believe that the more we know about who we really are as spiritual beings, having a human experience, the more we know who we are, the more we're able to really tap into our power and to normalize these conversations around our gifts. I had a great conversation with someone named Willow, who's there in the UK with some of you guys and has a new program coming up for highly sensitive people, highly sensitive entrepreneurs. And being one of those and having one living upstairs in my house, my daughter, it's amazing how we get shamed early in our life to think that the things that are so natural to us, whether we're very outspoken or we're very sensitive or we're very spiritual or we hear things or see things or talk to angels or whatever, you know, a lot of us have been made to believe that we're faulty, bad, defective, wrong, broken. And that's not true. Like, we have so much power to heal ourselves and to be fully, wholly, whole. But it comes with knowing who you really are. You are a divine spirit. You are a soul, you know, who has a right to enjoy the life in this body. And yes, there is this thing such as, you know, we describe as karma, which means that you may have some stuff you got to work through, some karmic rebalancing going on. But at the purest level, even before you accumulated that karma throughout multiple lifetimes, you on a soul level, on a spirit level, you are perfect. You are whole. You are complete. And when you can own that, that's when you'll start to see that miraculous healing in body and mind and relationships. So I have no idea how long I've been talking. Once again, you know me, once I get started, I almost don't stop, but I'm going to stop. I know I'm going to see some of you in just a couple of hours for the personal branding 5 stages of how to launch your brand into the global stratosphere. So I look forward to seeing you in a couple of hours. So I think I'm going to go chill out for a little bit and send some good energy. So I'd love to end this broadcast with an invitation for all of us, if we will just take a few minutes out of today and maybe the rest of this week, especially since it's Thanksgiving for the Americans, to really just be present to our power and what it would be like if we could really feel our power to heal, to forgive, to love, to uplift, and then send that power and send that intention for others to experience it out from your heart to those that need it. We're going to send special love and healing vibes to the beautiful Gega, that she has a perfect recovery after her surgery. And anyone else out there who's dealing with stuff, I'm feeling particularly tuned in to people dealing with fibromyalgia, because I just have, I don't know why, a lot of people in my world who've been challenged there. So let us all be mindful that we can be grateful no matter what's going on. And if we allow that gratitude to lift us up and imagine a future where either we or the person that we're sending that loving intention to, imagine them and their future feeling better, rising up from whatever the circumstance is that's holding them down. Imagine that their future is being lived in the now. So bring that future vision to now with gratitude and love in your heart. So for those of you who have questions, send me a message. You can learn more about the Attunement Meditation and download some free audios if you want to do the guided audio. Just go to attunementmeditation.com. I will type it in here so that you can do it on the computer. And if you want, you could also take the attunement, the compassion meditation that I know so many of you have actually enjoyed. The Compassion Meditation Challenge is 21 days of practicing that meditation. So there's a short and a longer guided version of it, totally free. Download that or do it on, the 21-day basis. And allow your life to be lifted. If you would send us messages or post, share this video with others and post your comments. Keep coming back to this exact video to say what you've experienced and or what you are intending for, if you have a need. If there's something going on in your world that you want us to tap into the intention, if you're willing to be a part of a group of 8, then we can start to organize those as well. That way we can actually have a specific time and date of the week where we focus our energy and intention on different people or different situations, okay? Thank you for being here. Thank you for being patient with me. I'm sorry I'm not on like I previously wanted to be, like 3 times a week, but I am grateful to have a cup of verbal tea with you, and I look forward to hearing what magic you are up to in your world. I am sending you just tons and tons of love from the south of France, and I will end by saying, may you be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May you be truly well in body, mind, and heart. May you know true happiness and the causes of happiness, and may you live with ease. Much love. Bye.